Welcome to the show. I'm your host today, Cody Coda. I have Sheila Brown here with us for Hoppis Homes and Oklahoma Red Door Management. Am I saying that right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. So how'd you get into the business?
Oh, golly. Whenever I was 21, 22 years old, fresh out of a divorce, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? And I needed to kind of learn a new trade. And I got a job as a leasing agent in a low-end apartment complex. And there was something about it that I wanted to learn everything. And so that took me to real estate school to learn more about real estate. And this particular property owner had a large portfolio through 3 counties. And so as a young girl, practically in pigtails, it was something that I just kind of pushed my way through. And he saw opportunities to where I could become somebody that could help him improve the low end properties and help transition them from a D grade to a C grade so that they could improve the cap rate and have a better NOI. And then we would help him get the property on the market for sale. And then that kind of transitioned to where that was just the language that I spoke, and was blessed enough to be asked by Bud Fulton with J.R. Fulton and Associates to be a part of his team and kind of spearhead his multifamily division, which he didn't really have much of at that point. So at 23 years old, going into the commercial real estate business, particularly as a female, was a really big thing, unheard of by me, very little college education, single mom. And it was just an incredible opportunity. And I just kept on going from there.
Oh, wow. So that's that's a different path with a lot of the folks that we've visited with of getting in. It kind of came in under the commercial / property management end of it. And
yeah.
Wow, been able to study that. So what kind of markets do you serve? So kind of our viewers can have an idea. Is it the entire state of Oklahoma, or certain areas that you like to focus in on, or what's that look like for you?
I like to stay within a certain radius. I mean, we tried to broaden it and go into the Tulsa area, but what you learn whenever you think logically is whenever you focus on a realistic radius, then you can service that client. You can be there for those customers. So we really only service Oklahoma County. And then we expanded to Cleveland County about 12 years ago. And we're now taking on Canadians. So just the 3 counties. And as our infrastructure perhaps, grows or something like that, then we'll look at bringing in other counties. But right now, that's really all we want to do.
Yeah, that's a big hit. That's enough on your plate for now. I get it.
Yeah.
And so how many years have you guys been in business?
We've been in business since 1999, so 22 years we opened our doors.
Wow. Yeah. 1999. You do not look that old at all. Wow, that's
keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Well, I'll tell you, the name Hoppis just around, like I've heard that name for, so what area did you guys start in exactly? Was there a certain area of the city that you guys kind of?
It sure was. I'm actually real proud of it. As a real young woman, whenever I decided that there was a hole in the marketplace, and I felt the need, I felt like I could fulfill that need because, I had gone into residential sales on top of commercial, and I'd heard and seen so many different holes. And so I told my mom, I said, I want to open up a full service real estate company. And so she was like, well, let's do it. So I'm from Del City and proud of it. And so with name recognition, because my dad was from there, my parents, had a drapery business there. So I decided I would start there. And because it's easier to build a name for yourself in a geographical area when you already have a name for yourself. And so I chose Del City, and to this day, our telephone prefix is still 677, which is the Del City prefix.
Oh, well, I'm thinking at one point you guys may still have one too, but I remember even seeing, just driving, I was one of my commutes of an office location you guys had like near like South Oklahoma City or more, at one point in time.
Yeah, our current office, we ended up moving out of the Del City location whenever I thought I saw everything growing so big, and I thought, okay, I needed to dial this in, because I found myself being an office manager, yet I'm the top producer. And so I had to really kind of restructure things. And I decided, okay, I'm going to buy a home. I'm going to thin my cast out, and bought a home with just a dining room, converted that into an office, and then we expanded again. And so now we're over at 72nd and Southwestern.
Awesome. Great.
In an office building. Yeah.
Awesome. Great location. So how many, that kind of leads me to my next question. How many agents do you guys lead, and how many locations do you guys have, so the viewers kind of have an idea of what your perspective's like?
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll start with first our size of portfolio that we take care of. We take care of roughly 2,500 to 2,800 doors as far as properties that we manage. And that's a pretty significant number. As far as agents that we have, I believe we've got 7 licensed real estate agents. And then we have some of those are full-time employees as well. And then a total of 8 office staff.
That's a lot of doors.
Yeah.
Do you guys know where you guys are at in the rankings? If you're not number one, I'm sure you guys are probably way up there on the list of top.
I don't know. I honestly never really even thought that I was very large, because I just keep going and just keep going. And then a couple or 2 years ago, I went to an NARPM event, which was my first one in many years, the National Property Managers Association.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the question, whenever you go to these events, it's not like, hey, what's your name? It's like, what's your number?
Yeah.
My number. And they're like, yeah, how many doors do you manage? And, I had to think about it. I was like, well, there's this many and there's many. I go, between 25, 28. And so I didn't know that was a big number. I didn't know that was a lot. And, but that's where we are. So we just kind of built it slowly, and we maintain it. And I think that's our biggest claim to success is turnover, repeat customers, whether it's in sales or property management. If you service it right and you service it the same consistently, and they know what they can expect, then you're going to stay in business for a long time.
Yeah, well, you guys obviously have, you're doing a great job. So congratulations with all this success. So how did you transition? Let's talk a little bit about that, because I know a lot of our viewers, they may be, brand new broker, just opening their doors, or they may be an existing one, still trying to figure it out. How did you transition from just an agent to a broker? Like, what was that like for you?
For me, it was a pretty easy decision. I was an agent. I had moved my license from J.R. Fulton and Associates because I had, the highs are high in commercial real estate, and the lows, they're low. They are low. It's no big thing, to go into, I guess it is a big thing, but you go as a residential broker or agent into a closing and the buyer doesn't show up, or they don't get funding, and so you miss out on an $1,800 or $3,000 real estate commission. But if you've done it right, then you've paced it and you don't put all your support on that one transaction. But in commercial real estate, you're working on a $1, $2, $3 million deal, and it takes months to put that together. So you are putting so much into it that whenever that deal doesn't close because of funding, or the buyer just changes their mind and walks away from a $50,000 earnest money, you feel it in a big way. And so I had kind of gotten to that place to where I needed to kind of put my eggs in more than one basket. It's kind of being a single mom and this, that, and the other, I needed to be able to put food on the table all the time and know that I could do it. So I moved to another real estate firm that had property management, and I could do all 3: commercial real estate, residential, and property management. And so I did that, and there were a lot of things about that particular practice that I really liked, but there was a lot more of them that I did not value. And so I learned a lot about myself and what I believed my service would be, because we are a tool as an agent or a broker. And you have to know what that tool is that you can sell, that people, again, can depend on. They know this is what Sheila Hoppis does, or this is what, Jane Doe does. And so that's whenever I kind of decided, well, I think I want to go to broker school and create my own path, and not have to listen to a broker tell me this is how you do things, because you need to do things the way that your broker tells you to. I mean, unless it's wrong, of course. And that's really kind of what I did. My mother was a tremendous support. I can't thank her enough, because we're from Del City, so we didn't have a lot of extra. All I had was a dream.
Mom in the business too, or?
She retired 5 years ago, and I was blessed to have her by me the whole time. So I went to broker school, and which I did online. Online class at this time in 1998 were really just kind of a new thing. And I passed the exam, and then it was like, okay, now what do you do? And so I found a client in Del City, or a person. I thought, okay, how can I do this with zero money? Because I had zero money. And found somebody who had an office building that could have used a little bit of attention. I approached them and I said, can I manage your building in exchange for an office space? And he said, absolutely. Matter of fact, you can manage all my stuff. And we borrowed a computer from a friend, because I didn't have a computer at the time. And we started up, and we started knocking on doors, and that's how we did it. But I had a mission. I believed, you've got to ask yourself, what is it that you want to stand for? And so I'm a big person about mission statements. So I found a mission statement, and to this day, ever since July 1999, I live by this mission statement. I repeat it to myself on a regular basis. And that is, service is the rent we pay for being. It is the purpose of life, and not something that we should do in our spare time. And that's the way that I believe real estate should be, as far as an agent and transitioning to a broker. And so real big on tithing as well. And so as we started to get, I don't want to say success, but stability, I was asking my attorney, who played an instrumental part in helping me out, how can I get into, buying properties before they go into foreclosure? And he told me, oh, well, what you do is you get the journal record and you read the filings, and then you can research those names and the properties. And so then when I started researching pre-foreclosures, I was like, wow, there's a lot of avenues that homeowners don't realize that are there. And this is before, there was a Carlton Sheets on it. Okay. So we started talking to people, and we just decided we had a calling. God had sent us to them to help them out and point out options. And so for free, we counseled people that were suffering, that were facing foreclosure. And most of the time we were able to help them get, a mortgage modification. And people ask me, well, why are you not charging me for this? Why this doesn't make sense. Nothing's for free. And I remember telling this guy, I could put several $100s on putting my face and name on the back of a bus bench, or I can make a difference in your life. And I just think, maybe you're more inclined to remember me if I make a difference in your life.
Man,
so anyway, so that's how I got to where I'm at.
That's good. Wow, that's really good. And I love that you guys, number one, are mission focused, but more importantly,
yeah,
the message in your guys' mission statement. That's the whole service. I love that. That's fuel for me. That's awesome. Okay.
Well, it's just true. It's the way we should all live.
Very, very good. So early struggles and wins, Sheila. What were some of the natural parallel type, skill sets that you already had built and developed when you stepped into the role as the broker? So you had those early wins. Share a little bit about that. And then what were some of the ones where it's like, man, I didn't have the skills, I had to skill up. Where did you get that knowledge, and where'd you get it from, kind of thing?
Fake it till you make it, number one. Okay, number one. And I was so blessed to have an attorney who was actually the attorney of that one client that I reached out to about that, office building, managing it. And so he was like, well, this is my attorney, get this stuff for him. And he kind of took me under his wing, and he was like an open book, and he would, give me advice, and I would take that advice and I would turn it into an action. And to this day, he's still my attorney, and probably he loves to brag about, I was his best student, his best pupil. So whenever you've got somebody that's giving you good advice, take that and go do something with it, because, that's, people are paying big money for it. So that was my biggest thing, is don't ever think for a minute that you know it all. Because I didn't, Bud Fulton really enlisted getting, continuing education, but not just for your license kind, CCIM. I took a few of those courses for commercial real estate. The certified property manager, again, just keep learning. It doesn't mean that you have to use those things, but it helps you start thinking creatively and out of the box. I would get those books. If I could turn the camera around, I'd show you. I've got all of those first-time home buyers, how to get rich in the real estate market in the 80s or the 90s. And even though I was not a new agent or anything, but you can read those things. And again, it gets your mind turning to where it's like, oh, but if I did it this way, I could do X, Y, Z. And I really, really, really enjoyed that. And that's how I got here, and I continue to do that, So don't ever think you know enough.
So still going to the seminars and buying the courses, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, last year we didn't get it. And, we try, the goal is, I went to my first NARPM, 2-3 years ago, with the idea that I need to buy more time. That's what I need as a broker. I'm doing all this, I've got a property management company, I've got a homeowner association management company. We're closing 5 to 10 deals a week. I need more time so that my husband's going to retire and I might never see him. And I go there and I always get more ideas, and I end up creating a new job for myself. So anyway, so it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. How would you describe your management philosophy as being a broker? Like what's your style, and what do you kind of advocate that?
Management, as far as like with my agents or with my clients. My agents, set a good example, lead by example. Don't do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. Make sure that everybody knows what we stand for. Whenever I chose the name Oklahoma Red Door as our management company, when I decided to rebrand, I wanted it to mean something. So as far as the name, so I had to think about what is that going to mean? And so I chose Red Door because of everything that it stands for. It stands for, going all the way back to Ephesians, you paint the blood of the Lamb on the door and you'll be saved. Or the Wagoneers would look for, homes with red doors, and they're like, oh, we can stay here and be safe. And, there's the feng shui, and there's all those things that stands good for Red Door. So we went, and whenever we created this current office, my oldest daughter, Erin, who I'm blessed to have work by me as well as an agent, we painted a bunch of old doors red and made them different styles and put those words on the doors, and they're hanging throughout the office to remind all of the employees and all of the agents what we stand for, and remind you what we stand for. And so that's the biggest thing is be there every day. Set the example.
That's really good. So franchising, did you guys go the franchise route? Why not?
Again, whenever I first decided to get my broker's license, it was because I wanted to pave my own way. I wanted to create a company service that was mine, and I called the shots. If I wanted to reduce the commission, then I wanted to. I want my agents to be able to do that, and I didn't want my business model to be all about money. And I feel like money can just take away a good service. I mean, it really, really can, whenever that's your focal point. And I get to a point to where, because, I grew slowly after when I decided to downsize in 2003. I wanted to grow a lot slower so that I could grow always in a manner in which I could handle it myself. I'm very much a micromanager, so I'm involved in all the day to day, and so that's kind of what I did.
Awesome. It's obviously worked really well for you guys. So what do you think it takes, in your opinion, to be a successful broker?
Be intentional, be honest, be transparent. That's what separates us. I mean, being able to say that I've been in the industry since 1993 and I've not had another job. I've not had to go work at a grocery store or, a restaurant. It says a lot because a lot of people don't have that. But I knew what I stood for, and I didn't compromise it. I mean, I lost a client the other day. So in fact, today is going to be our last day managing this apartment complex. And, and they've been with me for 6 years, but they decided that they wanted me to modify my management agreement to where I held all of the liability, and so they wanted me to say that I would not have a hold harmless, in the event somebody made a mistake or something like that. And I prayed about it a lot, and I talked to my attorney, and he was like, I mean, I don't like what they're wanting to do, because that just means that they don't want to hold any responsibility. But, that comes with property investment, and if they found somebody that's willing to compromise their business model, then great. I tell customers all of the time, whenever they come in and they interview me, whether it's for sales or it's for property management, and they try and get me to go on a different path than what my business model is. And I have to remind myself, and I tell this to my agents and my employees all the time, this is what our product is. You go into Neiman Marcus, you don't negotiate on this. This is what you're going to get this product. But if you want a less impressive product, you want something that you can see through and maybe won't last very long, and maybe they'll be open, maybe they won't, then go to Walmart. Maybe that product won't, maybe you don't plan on owning something for the long term, and you just want to get those numbers up there long enough so that you can turn around and sell it. And that's great, but that's not me. So being able to differentiate and know what I would be willing to negotiate on and compromise for myself and my team, and what I wasn't. And that I think has kept me in business for the years, because now I don't have to try and make false promises to people of things. Oh yeah, I'll do yours this way, or I'll do yours this way. Whenever you have as many properties and as many customers as we have, you just gotta treat them all the same, whether they're rich, poor, they've got a lot of inventory, or they don't, or they want you to sell, their mother's 2-bedroom home that's only going to bring in $40,000, and maybe you got to host the garage sale to help get it done. But as long as you're being true to yourself, and this is what your business model is, and you're not compromising it, you're going to be in business a long time.
Yeah, that's good advice. You got to have a standards of practice. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So what are your least favorite aspects of the job? And what are some of your favorite things that you get to do as a broker?
As a broker, the least favorite part of my job, as far as, golly, if it comes to property management end, my least favorite part of it is security deposit disbursements. Because that's whenever you're going to make someone mad. You're going to withhold part of their deposit. And as the broker, even though a lot bigger companies and even a lot smaller companies do this very different than me, I'm still the one that's reviewing that bottom line on the money that goes out the door. And maybe one of these days I'll have my daughter or somebody trained where they can do those things. So that's my least favorite, giving people bad news. I hate lecturing, employees, making sure they're doing things that I want them to do, but it's just the way that it is. That's my name on the door. And so I spend a lot of time on that. My favorite part is knowing that every day, whenever I lay my head down, I've made a difference in somebody's life. Somebody's sleeping a little bit better because maybe something that I or somebody in my company has done to help them sleep a little better. And that's the high. It's not the big commission checks. It's not. I mean, I remember my very, very first commission check whenever I sold an apartment complex with Bud Fulton. And I don't know how appropriate this will be, but he pulled it out of the folder as we're driving in his Lincoln. And he said, Sheila, first time you hold a big check like this, it's orgasmic. And of course, I'm in my early 20s and I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I didn't have that effect, but I do remember, that big feeling, and realizing whenever the first client didn't show up for a closing, and I had a $25,000 commission sitting on the table that I wasn't going to get. I mean, guy wasn't taking anyone's calls. He walked away from the earnest money, which was about $50,000. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And, as a single mom with expecting another one, I'm like, I got to think of another way, but I never quit. So.
And it's paid off for you. Wow, that's a great story. So what does your support system look like today? And then maybe, for some of the newer brokers out there, I mean, obviously you didn't come out to the scale that you're at now. Maybe kind of walk through, when you first kind of got into where you're at today, so the viewers can kind of have an understanding, like, hey, you're not going to have this massive team day one.
Yeah.
What you had when you first started and kind of where you're at today with it.
Absolutely. I had family. I didn't have money on my side. So, and I think a lot of people that want to do this, they're dreamers. We're dreamers. There's some folks out there in the industry, they came from real estate, they got a lot of money in the bank, they're able to get this done. But that wasn't me. So I had a dream. I had my mother, who was a big support system, and she was my assistant. She went and got her license so she could be my legal assistant. And my father, who taught me about maintenance, and my brother. I mean, so family was my biggest thing, and knowing that you can't do this alone, that you need the support, especially as a parent. And then as I grew and I had to hire staff, I hired staff that I could find something in them that made them flexible, that they didn't necessarily have a lot of experience or they didn't have any experience. And I found like those were the best ones to bring in, because I could mold those to understanding and believing in my principles. And so most of the employees and the agents that I have been with me for several years. I mean, I've got one agent that's been with me for 20 years. I mean, he started out as an investor, and now Tony is a top producer he's selling more than anybody. I mean, he's just doing great. And but again, I was able to bring that in, and like, this is what we stand for, and that's how you get your support, is you surround yourself with people that you can trust.
What I love about your answers is they're so authentic.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. So kind of sets us up for this next question. And so what do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about, your job description or being a broker? And that way you kind of dispel, if anybody's trying to come into that space, that you can kind of, hey, it's not what you think in this regard. What
Yeah.
would you want to address for people?
Oh, number one, it's you think it wasn't an 8 to 5 job before. Being a broker, it's not an 8 to 5 job now. It doesn't change. It's 7 days a week, maybe 8 days a week, if that's possible. You're carrying the weight. You have all of the pressure, all of the responsibility, especially when you get to a point to where you're bringing in agents. And familiarize yourself and make sure that they know about the state laws. Read those statutes, read it, and live by that ethics book. Don't cross that line. Walk the line, yes, but don't cross that line. And that's the hardest thing about being a broker is not knowing what everyone else is doing out there. Everyone else has a hidden agenda, and it's about making money. And there is a lot of money to be made out there, but to do it the right way means that you're going to continue to make money. To take shortcuts, which, man, it'd be nice to take some shortcuts. It's going to cost you. You won't survive it, and it's an expensive industry to get into now. I don't know if you can do it the way that I did it, before. But I know as it stands now, as large as we are, to not have the support of my family, to include my husband who did finally retire. My oldest daughter got a real estate license and is prepping for the broker license so that, at some point in time we can survive past me. To know that I've got
third generation now.
It's going to be, yeah. Now my youngest daughter, she has zero interest whatsoever. She's currently Miss Oklahoma USA, and so that's been her deal. Yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. But Erin, she's my little protege, and so she's going to take it over one day. But as I'm gone, she says, "Holy cow, Mom, we're going to have to sell this thing when you die, because I'm telling you, this is a lot of work."
Yeah, a lot to learn too.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite tools in your business, whether it's either software or some type of technology that you'd say, hey, I'd shut my doors tomorrow if I didn't have this. I love this. I need this in my business.
Hey, when I first started, there weren't cell phones. Okay. I mean, it was the big bad phone. So obviously the latest technology I'm big at. If that means I'm upgrading and my phone's only 9 months old, I'm going to do it, because everything is to give me time. That's what I need in life. I don't need more of anything else but time. You can give me more time, I can do more. Sleep is overrated. So particularly working from home, a good laptop, as well as a Surface Pro. With, I've got the iPad Pro with internet. I can pop that baby out and I can work from anywhere. Those are huge. Outlook, Microsoft 365 now. I can't imagine not having it before and being able to pull those up, having digital files on Dropbox wherever I go, and know that even if my computer gets a virus, it's safe, which that has happened before, and you lose everything. I mean, computers, files, everything. So again, just don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have your butt backed up, and then back that up.
Good advice. So let's talk about the market here for a second. First of all, have you ever seen a market like we're in right now?
Oh yeah, we've seen this before. And I'm not impressed by this. My mother she retired and they bought a house in Lake Eufaula. And so they've been there for about 5 years. And so now that we're expecting, she's expecting another great grandchild. My oldest daughter is expecting. She's like, okay, well, we're going to sell the house in Eufaula. And so now we've got to buy a house in Oklahoma City. And I was like, nope.
No, you're not. Not right now.
And she's like, what? And I said, there's at present, right now, there's 2,155 homes in the MLS that are active. That's it. That's what it was on Saturday. She's like, no way. Or on Wednesday. And I said, absolutely, that's it. There's 4,100 plus pending. So right now, this isn't a real marketplace. This is that false market where everything's up. Great time to sell. Get it done. I think about it too. But if you're looking for a place where you're not sure you're going to live there for more than 5 years, and you need to be able, you're not going to have money to get your stuff out of it, then probably want to wait, because once the foreclosures come back, which will be by the end of the year, you will start seeing things balance out. Once these East Coasters and West Coasters that are moving here, because they see, oh, wait a minute, if they're not going to open the office back up, I can move to Oklahoma City. I can give myself a raise, because the cost of living is an eighth of what it is in LA. So they're moving here, they're moving to Tulsa, and they're thinking this price is so crazy. So they're paying 20% more for it in some cases. But at some point, those people on the East Coast and the West Coast are going to be like, oh, well, wait a minute. They're not living here. So we need to give them a wage reduction, because we can't support it. And so they're going to start seeing, because they're going to have to recoup their pocketbooks as well from the pandemic. All this is going to come back around to us. I mean, all this free money, it's going to come back. Companies were down for a year. We lost across the board. So then they're going to start moving back, and then we're going to start, I think we're going to go back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, we had the high interest rate, but everything was inflated. The prices were crazy. And so we saw the assumable, which at that point, the loans were non-qualifying assumable. I don't know if you're that old. So I think that we're going to get to a point to where people are going to start leaving their homes. They're not going to be able to sell them because it's going to be so much. The banks aren't going to be as cooperative on the short sales. So that means that we're going to go back to, we're going to see more offers that say, willing to assume, and they're going to qualify for those loans. And so we're going to see some of that happen. That's where I see it. I think that history repeats itself every 10, 15 years. You can argue with it all you want, but if you look back, that's just the way that it is.
Wow, you've got so much wisdom. I think.
I mean, that's my synopsis.
I think you're right on with a lot of that. What I'm curious to know is, what about us as agents? So for buyers and sellers, okay, we've got this temporary false market. It's going to come back. For agents, is it going to be business as usual, do you think, within our industry, with the way you see things are going? Or do agents or brokers need to be aware of anything that may be around the corner, do you think, after all this?
Oh, I know that as far as property management, which, that's where the bulk of my business is, I mean, even on my sales, I mean, I sold a 41 unit apartment complex. We closed on it last Wednesday. Yes. And I feel like it's definitely going to improve and stabilize. I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. My husband's walking in and out. So
yeah, no, we're just talking about like what agents and brokers would have to, what things should they prepare for? When here in the next.
Oh, so sorry. Prepare for the foreclosures to come in, and prepare for the wholesalers. Stitt just signed that, where wholesalers, they're out come November, and I know we're all going to be singing that praise. And so those agents that have started to work with those wholesalers, you put all your eggs in that basket, and that market's going to go away. But what they're going to do is they're going to try and get you to do things that aren't ethical, and you're going to think it's walking the line, but it's crossing the line. So, who knows if your broker is going to tell you, hey, this guy that wants to buy this, but he just wants to sell it, that's now illegal in November. And I don't know that they're going to know that, so you want to be familiar with it. If you're into property management, biggest advice is to follow legislation and see what changes are coming up with the Tenant Landlord Act. If you are doing property management on the side as a way to supplement your income, know that it's coming up that you're going to have a certification through the Real Estate Commission, and that's on the table. I sit on the Property Management Task Force for the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. So we spent the better part of the last 2 years, even during the pandemic, having meetings, coming up with what that would look like, what those regulations would look like, what that real estate test is going to look like. And so that's coming up, and it's on the table being talked about with the commissioners. And so what that will be is, first, your broker is going to have to get certified and have a license. It's not going to be a license, it's going to be a certification. And then the agent is going to have to go take the certification. And so the broker certification is going to be a little bit different. And so if you don't hold a license, particularly if you don't hold a license, or if you're doing property management without your broker's knowledge, or maybe your broker knows about it, but maybe they don't know the full extent of what you're doing, be prepared, watch that legislation, be the first one to know, because knowledge is power, period. And with all this stuff that's changing, again, like I said, that money's coming from somewhere. It's going to come from all of us. So be front in line. Nobody remembers somebody more than telling them something that they don't know. And they may even, go around and like, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And then it happens. And I know whenever that happens, that I'm the first person they think about.
Yeah. Become the expert. No, that's good.
Yeah.
So this is a fun question. So what would you be doing if you weren't in real estate?
I have absolutely no idea. If I could do it all again, because, one of my mentors was an attorney, I would go to law school, and do that. If I could do it all again, I learned so much studying pre-foreclosure, and there's just so many opportunities out there. And attorneys have all this great knowledge, and all these skills. It's just amazing. So I really admire them. So my attorney would get so mad at me because I would, I'd say, well, this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. And he'd say, Sheila, you need to put a disclosure on the back of your business card that says you are not licensed to practice law, and therefore you are not giving legal advice. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's what I would do.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. So if I'm an agent or a buyer or seller or just an investor who've got property and I want to, have a great, outfit handle this for me, how can our viewers find you? What's the best way that they can connect with you?
Our website, hoppishomes.com, or our rental website is okreddoor.com. Over in the help section, which we are doing some rebranding, we'll be changing the website. We try and post videos on how to do different things, or did you know, just little helpful hints. And then, feel free to email me through the websites, hoppishomes.com.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, once again, thank you for coming on. It's been a real pleasure.
Absolutely. It was nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for rescheduling.
Yes, thank you for being flexible with that. So get rested up. We hopefully will connect with you here in the future, okay?
All right. Thanks so much. Take care.